Ken Cuccinelli, who has served in the Senate. How many years has he been there?
Been there since 2002. It just seems like 20 years.
It does. Thanks for that. Thank you for coming out.
Thank you. Thank you all for taking some time tonight. I want to draw your attention to a couple things on your chairs. Just our pamphlet's got a little postcard at the bottom. If at the end of the night you're satisfied with what you hear, I'd appreciate your support, and we'd like to know about it with these postcards. Or if you'd just like to stay in touch with us, mail that on in. As Philip mentioned, I've been in the Senate since 2002. I've won 3 elections in Fairfax County. I live in Centerville. I represent Centerville, Chantilly, part of Burke, part of Fairfax, not the city, the government center, and part of West Springfield. My district polls 4-1 for gun control, and so they really love my leadership on the Second Amendment there. You all who live in Fairfax know what I'm talking about. Upon my arrival in the state Senate, I was immediately the leader on Second Amendment issues. I didn't have to bump anybody out of the way to do that. There was nobody doing it. I was put on the courts committee, and I think it was at the end of the first or second year, and he didn't know I was going to quote him. I'll butcher the quote from Phil. But during consideration of gun bills, he described the courts committee as being run by Ken Cuccinelli, then the chairman, except on gun bills, when I ran the committee. And all the gun bills come through courts. I have been on point on every either attack on the Second Amendment, and we get them every year, as you all know, or backing up or proposing every advance of Second Amendment rights. And there's too many for me to remember, so I wrote them down. Let me tell you the bills I've put in. My first year I put in concealed carry reciprocity. My second year I put in a ban of a repeal of the restaurant ban. I also put in a bill that stopped Fairfax, Arlington, several other counties, very large ones, from doing the postcard background check, which of course was a waiting period where they would send the postcard in, do the exact same background check that the dealer had done, and then mail a postcard back, so you'd get about a 5-day waiting period automatically. Well, we got that passed, and now we have the biggest gun show east of Louisville, Kentucky, at the Dulles Expo Center, and I've seen a lot of you out there several times. Some on the lam from your wives, I know, but it's been a tremendous success and a wonderful irritant to liberals in Northern Virginia. So I appreciate that a great deal. That same year, we had an appellate issue that your counsel brought to me. Circuit courts are not giving people a hearing on permit revocations. We attempted to undo that, and we're not successful. So we obviously still have work to do. The next year, Mr. Fusaro asked this question. The next year I brought a bill to allow what should already be legal, and that is to carry in the Capitol, the state Capitol. Well, Joint Rules, which is the joint committee of the House and the Senate, and the senior folks in both, established that rule. Now, I'm not quite sure how a rule outranks a law, but apparently when you're in the Capitol it does, and they would not pass my bill. However, attorneys general get to write opinions, so. The next year I was busy fighting off. We really started to see the gun show loophole. You all note the quotes, please. That started to come in earnest in '06. We'd seen it before, I guess, from Henry Marsh since I arrived. And the arguments change a little bit each year, but not much. And then the next year, we actually had a bill get out of the House that would have allowed the revocation of Second Amendment rights with the revocation of parental rights. Now, nobody likes to see revocation of parental rights, but there's no criminal finding, there's nothing in that process that relates directly to Second Amendment rights. And we stopped that in the Senate, which is the opposite of how bad bills usually get stopped. And that was one of many examples in the area of the Second Amendment of things that are real political hot potatoes. We had a Republican bringing the gun show bill again. We beat that again. Recognition of out-of-state permits, concealed weapons for state police were reserved. And then this past year, I brought, we had, I want to say, the Freelance Star and the Roanoke Times. Roanoke Times. One of my campaign promises is that I will not be endorsed by the Roanoke Times. They published the whole concealed carry list. And, one of you asked about Real ID, and, this is a liberty issue. Nobody has the right to know whether or not I'm exercising any particular constitutional right. They don't have the right to that. And I put a bill in to shut those down, to not make those public. Now, groups like VCDL and NRA, it's nice to be able to go and recruit those folks for membership and so forth, but those sorts of things fall behind constitutional rights. And, Senator Sunshine, Ed Houck, did everything he could to get in the way of that. He's the chairman of the FOIA Council, and he's getting in the way of this sort of thing. Because there's some notion among liberals that they have a right to know who's exercising this nefarious constitutional right, you all from this area know about the police station shooting in 2006. That was in my district. You go outside here, and on the wall opposite the doors, they have Vicki Armel and Mike Garbarino on the wall there in remembrance of them. Mike Garbarino lived in my district. That shooter was from my district. The police station was my police station. 2007, we're all familiar with the tragedy at Virginia Tech. That shooter is from my district. Two of the families that suffered deaths in their families are from my district, including one family that really has taken on the role in Virginia like Sarah Brady has on the national level. That was 2007, 6 months before my re-election. I mentioned to you that my district polls 4-1 for gun control, and 2007 was a lousy year for Republicans. If there was ever a year and a district and an issue to give an inch on, it was my district in 2007 on the Second Amendment, and I didn't give 1 inch. And the reason is simple. These foundational principles are why I run. Protecting constitutional rights is first among them. Right to life, this is liberty, this is a liberty interest. What the Supreme Court said, I was in the 4th row for the Heller case. I was disturbed it was 5-4. That's a scary thought. We were 1 vote away from any government in America being able to take away your gun rights. That's where we are in America right now. But it was interesting to see in the opinion, and I think quite correctly, gun rights don't come to us just in the Constitution. They're among the natural rights that predate the Constitution and government. They're among the most fundamental rights of mankind, is the right to self-defense. No government, no lawful government could ever take them away, even if that decision were 5-4 the other way. It would be an illegitimate decision. That's important to consider when we deal with questions in this area. But as someone who has run on this issue and been targeted in part because of this issue, for those of you that live in my district, you saw what the mail looked like this year. I learned all sorts of new things about myself in the mail this year, or last year. They see the same polling on the other side that I see. And they know what my district looks like. But I have many of you here to thank because you share these 4 principles and are willing to come out and fight for them, that I got reelected. I'm now the only Republican state senator in all of Northern Virginia. I'm the only candidate in this race that has run on this issue and all the other issues that the Attorney General is going to run on, including crime, including property rights, including liberty issues, including life and family issues. Those are all things that I've run on and won on 3 times in Fairfax. And in those 3 races, I've been the number 1, and number 2 target of Democrats statewide in terms of the amount of money they put into my opponent. I wasn't disappointed to drop from number 1, I will.